We're cutting through the noise. If you're a Black woman entrepreneur nearing your fifth year of business, you're part of the 3% who make it that far. That means you're already winning, even if it doesn't feel like it. I'm Lynette Cottrell, and this is the Empower Her Business podcast, previously known as the Women of Color in Business podcast. I know what you're carrying because I've seen brilliant Black women founders quietly wrestling with fear, money shame, and the pressure to get it all right. Well, here we dig into what's stopping us at the root, the mindset, the funding walls, the biases, and self-doubt. We bring you stories, systems, and strategies you won't hear anywhere else. If you're ready to drop the shame and build like a CEO, you're in the right place for the right support. Let's jump into another great episode. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Women of Color in Business Roundtable. You're used to seeing here just one brilliant Black woman entrepreneur, but today you are being graced with three brilliant Black women entrepreneurs. So we're going to begin with them introducing themselves, and I know you've seen and heard from them all because they have all been previous guests on the podcast. But here you're going to get the chance to hear them all together. So let's begin. I will begin with Latoya. Introduce yourself again reintroduce yourself to the audience.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me again on the podcast. Loved it the last time. So I know it's going to be great today. Hi, everyone. I'm Latoya Stirrup, co-founder of Cosmology, a company that I launched with my two sisters, Latasha and Latrice, to create innovative hair tools and accessories that specifically deal with and address the needs of those with textured hair, but can be used across all hair types. We're sold in CVS, Target, Walmart. Available to salon pros as well through saloncentric.com. And we're also a part of different hair equity programs that are available through hospital systems. So super excited to be here.
Welcome again. And Randy, please reintroduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, so excited to be here again. I am Randy Bryant. I am the founder of a company called Bryant Consulting Group, but my focus is on what I call truthing, having people tell their truths. Through that, I have truthing cards. There's 3 different decks, but there are 100 cards, discussion cards, specifically targeted for Black Americans. I also have a show on Amazon Prime called Truthing. Oh, and the Truthing cards are sold in Walmart, Amazon. Show on Prime called Truthing with Randy B. And I do a lot of truthing on social media as well, just trying to ensure that we're having these conversations that matter.
Wonderful, beautiful. Thank you for that. And Faye, please reintroduce yourself.
Hello, I'm FM Faye Ellis. I am the founder and owner of 90 Day Author. And I created this community to help 100 educated Black women in the US start, finish, and publish their books in 90 days because our voice matters, right? I know that there are a lot of people out there who continuously tell themselves stories that they will publish their book one day. So it is my goal to help you stop lying to yourself and tell the truth on paper and get your story out to the masses. So 90 Day Author. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, all right. So let's jump right into it, ladies. So today we're talking about mindset and momentum. So let's start with the perspective of mental health. So as Black women entrepreneurs, we know the entrepreneur journey is not all about the flash that we see on social media, right? It really is a journey. Sometimes as you walk through this journey, it kind of feels like we're just barely surviving, right? So I would like for each of you to share, has there been a time in your journey where you've felt the switch from surviving to thriving? And what did that look like for you?
So,
Okay.
yes, I will definitely say in this journey of entrepreneurship, you have the ups and downs, right? So one moment you'll feel like you're thriving, everything is well, and then something comes out of the blue and knocks you down. And
Uh,
you feel like that aspect of resilience and just knowing that there is an other side to whatever you're going through is something that you have to build up, especially if you come from corporate, where in corporate, there's a level of security that you have. And I'm doing air quotes in case you can't see me. Because at the end of the day, even corporate is not secure, right? You could get
yes.
laid off, furlough,
Yeah.
furlough or whatever may be happening in the moment. So that aspect of having stability is again just something that is constantly fluid. It just feels more stable in a corporate environment. And I think that having different tools in your arsenal as an entrepreneur is very, very key because you need to make sure that you can move through those seasons, right? So having meditation, if that's your jam, yoga, exercising, sitting outside in nature, going to the spa. Like you really need to know what works for you, what helps you to recenter, what helps you to connect. Having founder friends that you can talk to, those who are in your industry as well as those who are not in your industry. Because I know for me, being in CPG, if I'm seeing something, I will quickly get on my text and be like, hey, are you guys seeing this too? Like, are you experiencing it? And it helps to make sure that you're reading what is happening across the economic landscape for your business, but then also just understanding what's happening as an overall trend, because that can help you to navigate as well. So I'm a huge believer in community when it comes to being a founder, as well as knowing what you need as a person to survive and thrive as a business owner.
Wonderful, wonderful. I like that. Faye, you had something to share?
Yeah, that moment, that pivotal moment when you realize that you are no longer the character that you're writing about, that you have evolved into a person, an author, where you can talk about the lessons that you've extracted from trying this thing called life, especially as an entrepreneur. Um, my moment was when I made, well, actually the pivotal moment for me, when my mindset changed, when my dad passed in 2013. And it was up until that time, I really didn't utilize time as my best resource, right? My most valuable resource. And once he passed, I realized that I was going to live the life he no longer could. And I got really serious. So I put my hat in a lot of arenas because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to own my own business while working, for someone else, like a lot of us do. We want to transition from paycheck to actually signing the checks.
Yes.
And I had a lot of failure. Who was it? Abraham Lincoln said, I've learned how to do 10,000 ways how not to do something. But then writing my story, growing into an author, no longer being the character that I was writing about, it literally transcended me. I became a whole different person. And from the top of my head to the sole of my feet. And that's what I want to offer people who look like me, that same transition. Even if you're in corporate America, CEOs, a PhD, people are not satisfied. They're not fulfilled, right? They're checking the boxes that they were told they had to check in order to be successful in a capitalist society. But I want to offer people true purpose and peace, something that you could do whether you starting off, you don't get any money for 6 months, but you helping other people win. And then as a residual, it's going to come back to you, right? So my mind shift was when I got serious about my time, my legacy, and how I wanted to impact the world. So that's all I'll say.
All right, thank you.
It's interesting. What I had to say is very similar to what Faith just said, in that what thriving looks like definitely changes. Well, first of all, I'll say as an entrepreneur, I don't know if I've ever felt as if I were thriving because just, you start out and you'll say, if I could just get here, I'd feel like I made it. And then you
Yes.
get there and there's 100 other things, right, that
Right.
you do. So you never get that satisfaction of feeling as if you're thriving. At least I haven't gotten there. But what keeps me sane is um, sometimes I have to adjust what thriving is. So when I had my traditional company where I work with a lot of corporations, Bryant Consulting Group, thriving was much more financial and being able to pay the bills. And then as we grew, being able to make payroll. And then as we grew, that was, I guess, my definition of thriving. Although, I was always exhausted. It never felt like it was enough.
Mm.
Thriving feels different now because I'm back to my purpose. And my purpose has always been to uplift my community in particular. And so days that I get down, I really like, okay, Randy, what was your purpose? What is your purpose? So what is my goals are different. So thriving, what it means to be thriving and feeling good feels different. But again, to just go full circle, I do feel like as an entrepreneur, you always have this survival in you that maybe forces you to push to thrive because you're always trying to survive. I mean, that
Yeah.
that is part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, some very good points all of you laid out. And Randy, I love your view on the thriving part, that we are constantly in a state of expansion, right? We set a goal, then we grow, we reach that goal, and we realize through that growth, I actually want to do this next, right? So I love that. So that is part of the entrepreneur journey, to you think it's a particular non-moving point, and then you realize that it's a constantly moving line. So it's getting kind of in sync and embracing that and realizing, okay, I have got to give myself the pause and enjoy the little wins along the way, because there is no end, point where all the satisfaction suddenly comes together. I have to feel satisfied along the way. I love that how you broke that down. Wonderful.
And even when you make those goals, you're making those goals with a lack of knowledge, right? Because you're always learning as an entrepreneur. So
Yes,
sometimes those goals are just made with what little knowledge you have, and sometimes they weren't even necessarily the best goals. Like,
right.
at one point I wanted a certain amount of employees, and then I realized it's actually a lot easier to have a certain amount of contractors and not employees. And so, but the goals, because as I gain knowledge, my goals change because
Yes,
constantly learning when you're an entrepreneur.
definitely. You have to definitely be flexible and open to
Yes.
that learning process too. Love that, love that. So let's talk a little bit about mental health and how we prioritize our mental health. You kind of spoke to this, Latoya, when you talk about the different methods you may use. You have to
Mhm.
find out what works for you. I think when we think about entrepreneurship and mental health, what I hear a lot out there in the noise is basically just hustle and grind, get through it, get it done. And I don't hear a lot about stepping back and making sure you're taking care of yourself and your mental health, and you are allowed to prioritize that. So I would love to hear what your take on that as Black women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, the bust through and all the things, that's a
Mm,
very masculine
yeah.
energy to it.
Hmm.
And I know that just me being a mom, right? So the business is as old as my oldest son. So he knows the entrepreneur version of Latoya. He
Ah,
doesn't know the ad agency producer, project manager version of me, right? So
right.
I had to learn how to give myself grace, because that like constant like push and move through and stay up till 3 a.m. and do it again the next day,
Yeah.
like that's not sustainable,
Mm,
especially when you talk about having a family, having kids, or just being involved in community, right? So many
yeah.
of us do so many different things. We're in organizations, we're attached to religious organizations, we're doing different things, we're showing up at PTA, sporting for our
Mm,
kids. So this idea of just constantly pushing, like you're going to push yourself to exhaustion.
yes.
And when we talk about it and we look at how many people are in their like 40s and 50s now having like major health crisis,
Yes.
that's requiring us to really sit differently, manage stress
Mm,
differently, and delegate as well. We have to learn how to extend our hand out and ask for help. And a lot of us, especially when you talk about Black women, we
yes.
are taught to like carry it all and
Right.
they do and constantly just like juggle 1,000 things at one time. And some of the conversations that I've been having with founder friends, especially female founder friends right now, is like we as Black women specifically need to sit back and like kind of like become more of a receiver and then more than a striver and a constantly trying to push. Like, how can we create environments where we can receive what we need and in the time that is supposed to come to us versus this like pushing out of scarcity or fear or lack? The shift to do something else that's a little bit more of a relaxed, soft life, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a TikTok trend, but how
Right.
can we adapt it into the way that we manage our businesses? Is something that I know a lot of us are looking to migrate and shift into as founders.
Love that. Love that.
It's funny, Latoya, you talk about, you had would you say son? I know you said
I have two. Yeah, a
okay.
8-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Okay, so I became an entrepreneur when I had my son. So they're now older. I've been doing this for way too long. I know the age of my kid, my oldest kid, when I get, because that's the age. I mean, the age of my business is when I forget more because that's when I started to become an entrepreneur because I wanted
Yeah,
some stability.
absolutely.
About that, but no, it did, I did, right? But I do think having children also helps you to push back because they can't be denied, right? So when you may deny yourself certain things, but a baby is going to say, no, you got to feed me right now. Or you have to, so
Yeah.
that forces you a level of balance. And now that my kids are grown, I think I did get used to just stopping and remember why you started a business because sometimes particularly women we start businesses for the flexibility
Yeah.
of having a home life of being a good partner or a good mother and so to remember that because we will get lost in the minutia of being an entrepreneur and next thing you're yelling at your kid like shut up, in this call and you're like okay wait I did I started a business to spend time with my kids so let me set some boundaries and say I mean it helps your mental health to say I'm not going to like I wouldn't have I always made sure I took my kids to school when they started school and I spent time with them so I didn't take calls between certain hours right
Love
and
that.
and so that helped me and so I think they helped me set boundaries which helps your mental health.
Beautiful. Yes. Yes.
I agree with both of you all. The terms that are missing in our conversation today is expectation and boundaries. And I think that's where mental health, that's the baseline of it. Even with our families. For the women that I work with who put their careers first, their kids first, their, social group first, they never really get to what it is that they want to do. Setting boundaries will allow you to expand who you are. It's like, babe, mama's about to go on here and do a podcast for 1 hour. After I get off the podcast, I promise I look at the clock. When it hits this, then I'll be out and we'll go ahead and go to the store or pop your popcorn or whatever. And you just get your family and friends buy-in. But I think us, especially as Black women, we never was shown how to communicate and set boundaries. We saw our moms and grandmoms, and I hate if I'm speaking out of terms because I'm not trying to speak for every woman of color. Just never say no. They overextended themselves, and the reason why a lot of people have health conditions now because they never took the time to even just go for a walk, tell people no, go to the gym, watch a movie alone, go on a date by themselves. And because of that, they are mentally and physically deteriorating. So setting expectations, even at work, because I think, Latoya, you said you're a project manager, so am I. And we know project management is time management, right? As well as change management. And you have a smooth project once you lay all your cards on the table with the people that matters, set expectations and boundaries, and then I think we can have a fuller life. Some people are going to drop off because they're not used to you saying no or setting limitations, but those weren't your people anyway, or the relationship would just adjust.
Got it. Got it. So you all brought up some very good points. So remembering why you started your business and honoring that flexibility you said you wanted, right? Respecting it by setting those correct boundaries. And good stuff, good stuff. So let's jump into productivity and momentum. And let's talk about, we hit on this a little already, but let's talk about two things I want to talk about. And the first is time management systems. And I'm very curious to know, what do you guys go to tools for time management? Because in my experience as an entrepreneur, one of my biggest challenges was setting a firm schedule and sticking to it, and not jumping around at every little shiny object that came, oh, I could do this, or every idea that came to mind, right? Instead of sticking to what I said I was going to accomplish today. So, and I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, that's a struggle because, especially coming from corporate, you pretty much know what you have to do day to day. When you jump into entrepreneurship, there are 1,000 things that need to be done. So you have to learn how to prioritize those things and not just do the things that you like to do the most, right? Do the things that are going to bring you in the clients. So when it comes to time management systems, what do you use that has been successful for you? Latoya, can you share what you use?
Sure. So a few different things. I would say from a project management or just like a task management system, I like ClickUp. So as a PM, I've used a lot of different systems over years. And
Okay.
I feel like right now with sort of the types of projects that we have, because some of them are like new product innovation, something may be like kicking off an affiliate program. So there's not a lot of like consistency in
Got
terms
it.
of what a project is. So ClickUp gives us the flexibility to handle different types of projects in one system. And then I still like paper. So I have a notebook. I have a planner where I write out like what I want to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Everyone's not like that, but I still like notebooks. So I'm
Mm,
still very much into notebooks. And then I digitize stuff as well. So it kind of like lives in different places. And then Google Suite, everything that we kind of have is on Google Suite. So that's Google Workspace is what it's called now. So Gmail, Google Docs, Google Sheets, everything is within Google, which makes it easy to share, have
right.
access, create, folders for everything, and people could kind of get into it. I would say that we keep it really simple. And then, like, for instance, our website is built on Shopify. So then we have plugins like Klaviyo for like email management, and then different things like that, which then again, just as a one-stop shop to manage the business in a way that makes it easy. So
Got
I'm
it.
all about, systems, keeping it clean and simple and nimble, especially as a startup, because you don't have departments to manage
Yes.
things. You maybe have like 2 or 3 people
There you go.
do it, and you just need to keep your systems met to match the team that you have.
Got it.
I
Love
love
it.
ClickUp.
You do?
I
Pick
love
up too.
ClickUp. Yep. And I like to write down. I have whiteboards.
Uh-huh.
A big whiteboard. I have to see. It helps me just to say, okay, what are my
Mm,
goals? What am I trying to get? I'm
yes.
a big dry and erase girl.
Mm.
And then I have to organize everything else. So like working out, for instance, I have a set workout and I work out with someone because I know I will stand myself up, but miss I won't mess up somebody else's schedule. If I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there.
Mm,
So I have to schedule everything else. Actually, that's hard. That's solid for me because work is all the time in a way. Like work fills in the free time. So I very much schedule the things that I know I want to get done, but I know that I would ignore because business can just end up filling those
yes.
spaces.
Yes. Got it. Hey, how about you?
I still reside in like Microsoft Office, all the Google Docs, etc. I'm big on, like people say, paper, but I love to do Excel. So I manage my clients in Excel. I have folders. I'm maybe really old school, like digital folders to put all our communication in, their
Yes.
progress, their writings, etc. That's for me because it's just me right now. As we expand, then that I will have to look into other systems. But the biggest thing is, and I'm sure Randy and Latoya can attest to that, is really documenting your process and your systems, getting it
Mm,
on paper, like really just on a Word doc or Google Doc, so someone else can replicate and do what you do, because you need to be able to work on the business, not in the business at a certain point. And just documenting those processes and procedures really helps. And just trying different things to see which systems work best for your type of business.
Great, great, great information. I love that. How do you combat procrastination and professionalism? Like, how do you combat being overwhelmed and not getting anything done, and also being such a perfectionist that it takes you forever to get something done? Do you struggle with either one of those? And if so, how have you handled it?
I would say for me, not really. And I think that that's also because of having the PM professional background and working in tech. So in tech, it's iteration, right? So it never is right, but
Got
you
it.
release. So you iterate as you release, and you just continue to hone.
Yeah.
So when we started the brand, and me just having the background in project management and production, that's the same sort of approach that we took with what we did. So we started off with like a really rough prototype, tested it out. We were like, okay, this is good. We understand what we want to do. Now let's iterate on that. And then we did the products that you see now. So even like website marketing, all the things, it's going to morph over time. And you just allow that to happen versus spending a ton of years behind the scenes building something. And then by the time you release it, you don't get the reaction that you wanted, but you spent
Right.
all the time and money,
Yes.
haven't given it to the market yet. So I think that that's a thing, especially when you talk about like physical products. You
Yeah.
want many people to touch it, feedback on it as possible before you invest a lot. Have your MVP out there so people can touch it, tap it, give you feedback. You can modify and just continue that process. It's never going to be perfect. There's always some level of improvement that can happen.
Love that. Love that concept.
Yeah, I think perfectionism kills.
Mm.
Doesn't even it forces people not to even start their businesses.
Yes.
There's so many brilliant ideas, and people are such perfectionists. And I'm not a perfectionist at all. I always tell people I was always okay with a B in school. Like and you just have to be, it's good enough, right? And you are, and I have a tech background too. Well, I was the person working in tech in the tech industry, and you do have iterations, and you get better because you have to produce, and particularly now that so much of what I do is on social media now. Like they don't care. They just want to see some content after a while. They don't care. And so I say people see me in my very worst. They see me at my best. I'm stuttering. I'm all kinds of stuff. But at least I put something out there, right? Same thing with truthing cards. Same thing with the books I've written. So you just have to. I think perfectionism is probably one of the greatest non-starters for entrepreneurs.
So true. So true.
I would agree. Perfectionism is the enemy of completion.
Yeah.
And most people who are successful, they may say they're perfectionists, but that's not true, because perfectionism is procrastination. It's not getting started. So if you're on the court, on the field, you are not a perfectionist. You are, like you said, you are constantly evolving. This whole thing called life is continuous process improvement.
Come on.
And once you get that, the benefit for working in corporate America before starting your own business is you kind of get to see that, right? You've seen them introduce a product and it failed, and they went back to the drawing board and went back out again. Yes, the business didn't close down. Just don't take too much time in the decision process. Get going, get it out there. Like my coach said, which I should have brought that up when you asked the question earlier about how do you organize and get things done? A coach for productivity. Because I can't see, I don't know my blind spots. I don't know what I don't know. But if I hire somebody who is on a level that I strive to be on, that kind of helps me, they're my assistant, my Scottie Pippen. So, yeah, no, I don't struggle with perfectionism. Just like Randy said, baby, I used to think about, oh, what mic should I use? What this and that. People want content. People want to put something out there, and you're not in business if you don't have a sale. And if you're going to take 10 years in research and development, you don't have a business.
Right.
You got an expensive hobby. So put it out there, let the people give you feedback, collect the feedback, and build upon it.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think you all had the same message to our audience is don't sit back waiting and waiting till you get it just right, right? Because you're not going to learn until you put it out there and get some responses. You can't learn it behind closed doors, just switching it up in your own mind, with your own ideas. You need to put it out there and get some feedback. Then you'll know, okay, this is what I need to change. This is what will work better. But it's not sitting back and waiting and waiting and working and ticking and talking and playing with it. That's never going to work. So get out there. I saw someone who had a t-shirt that said, do it ugly.
Yeah.
Right? Do it ugly. Don't try to make it all pretty and perfect because that is unreal, first of all. Perfectionism is unreal. So
Right.
stop trying to make it perfect and get it out there and grow with it and then improve. And I love the example you gave, Latoya, which was so real world when we get I mean, how many times have we gotten an update on our phone,
Yeah.
right?
Tell people.
It's an update and
Yeah.
they're improving something that they did the first time and now they figured out, okay, we can make this a little better. And
Exactly.
we accept that so easily. Oh, I got to download this overnight, right? We accept that constantly. So these multi-billion dollar businesses are constantly correcting and improving what they have already sold you. So when you think about building your business, give yourself the grace to behave as a billion-dollar business. Give
Absolutely.
yourself the grace to improve, right? Too. Great, great, great
That's
information.
a powerful message. A lot of people
Yes,
need to hear that, definitely.
yes, yes,
Well, and if you're going to have a customer base, you're trying to please a lot of people. You can't
Yep.
create anything that's going to please everybody.
right.
And so part of your mental health is accepting that you're going to have some people who are not going to like what you're putting out there, and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
If you're a person who can't take criticism, being an entrepreneur is not is not the way to
it's
go.
not. It's
You
not.
know, I used to tell my sons, I was like, look, LeBron has haters, Beyonce has haters, or people who
Yes,
like what they do. And you have to be ready for people to criticize you, your product, your business, everything about you if you're going to put yourself out there. So if you're working so hard at something to the point you won't release it because you're worried about what people are going to say, you really have to release that and accept that people are going to say some bad things. Know it. Just know when you put it out. Like
yes,
I know some people are going to say some, but some people are going to say some great things and they're going to love what
yes,
you put out there.
yes. And that's the key. Enough people will love it, right? Everybody want because nothing is for everybody.
Right.
Right? Nothing that each one of us do is for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea.
Right.
Everybody is not our target market, but the
Mm.
right people, our people, they get it. So
Right.
Yep.
yeah,
That
great point.
mindset, like you said, if we embrace criticism, because if you're being criticized, that means what? Somebody see your product, they see your invention, they read your book, they saw your
Yeah,
movie, they drove your car. So you got something for somebody to criticize. So
yeah,
embrace the criticism.
Very true.
wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about this thing called imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is kind of the way I see it, it's a system that creates for us a sense of not ever being good enough or a sense of no matter how good we are, it's not enough for some people. And it can be brought on by societal demands as Black women. I know we face a lot from just society. It could be brought on by the environment we grew up in, family, the way our family operates, things we've heard said in our family that makes us feel like we're not enough. We could hear the ideas like, you got to work twice as hard and be twice as good and kind of feel like we're never good enough. I heard someone say the statistics that Black women have more degrees than any other person in society, right? Because we get degree after degree after degree, certification, 5 or 10 different certifications just to do the basic thing. So share with us how you feel about imposter syndrome. What you think about it? Have you ever felt like you have experienced it in what you're doing, either what you did in your corporate job or what you're doing in your entrepreneur journey?
I'll speak to it. Well, my answer is going to be a little different. When I was being just a hothead in life, that was the imposter. That's not who my parents, they didn't pour that type of energy mentality into me. But
Mm.
at big tables in big rooms, no, I never feel like I'm an imposter because I was with myself doing the work to get there. When I get to those rooms, I'm wondering like, how in the world did these people get here? I'm more I'm not scared of no gifts and hierarchies and accolades and all of that stuff. That's great. I mean, all of that. That's the things I was taught to strive for and be impressed by, right? So
Yeah,
I'm never surprised because, like I said, we're with ourselves. We know the work that we have done to get
yeah.
there. So when we're in companies like I am now, where I'm literally the only Black woman in the whole company, I don't have a problem. I feel
Wonderful.
like, okay, so hey, y'all already knew y'all needed a star up in here. That's why I'm the only one.
I love that. I love
But
that.
when I'm on the streets acting a fool, now that was an imposter.
Okay. I love that, Faye.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. And I feel like when we don't honor like who we are and who our what our true calling is, that's when we're acting out of character.
Mm,
So for me, I've always been like pushed
mm.
to like go no do more. Like we
Uh,
do more. So
yes.
this aspect of like showing up, I've always like had to show up. So it wasn't, I've never felt like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here.
Mm,
Um, I think I know we were kind of having conversations a little bit before we came on camera, especially with like a lot of the DEI rollbacks and the pullbacks. And so for me, it's actually the opposite. Like I feel like we're underserved.
yeah.
We're underappreciated. We're
Yeah.
underfunded. So it requires us to do more because we are trying to fill the gap
Mm,
between with the lack that we don't
got it.
have.
Hmm.
So to me, it's like, especially coming from ad agencies where I know and I've worked on projects for brands that have millions of dollars to just do like a website. Like,
Right.
and then
Mm.
you come and you're building a company and you're like, I got pennies, y'all. What can we do?
Right.
I know what it looks like. I know
Right.
the teams. I've worked with award-winning art directors, but now you're in this space where you're creating from scratch and from nothing. And
Mm,
so I feel like that's sort of where the frustration and the tension and the rub comes from because a lot of us have done amazing things, but then we don't have the resources to
yes.
do the same for us. So for me, it's never imposter syndrome. It's more of like, hello, over here. Like, show me, like, give me
Yes.
that, and I can show you what I could do with it.
Yeah.
That's more of what it is for me.
Got it. Love that. Love
I
that.
was going to say something similar. I think the older I get, I mean, you have more enough experiences where you have just seen a lot of mediocrity,
Yes.
right? I mean, I have worked for people and they have been far higher than me, but a lot of that has to do with what America is. I mean, to be honest. And so as I've seen, I'm like, as I talk to people, and I'm like, this person is not very smart. Michelle Obama just did a podcast about that, and she
Yeah.
said
Yeah,
it's a
I
trick.
heard it.
Yeah, she said it's a trick. People try, there's a lot of effort that's given to make people, I think particularly Black women, feel as if they're not enough and nothing about them is right. And so and sometimes we believe it, but I think it's a real revolution when we reject that and we say, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. I know I deserve to be here. I'm actually smarter than you. There's no doubt that I know I'm smarter than you as you have these experiences. And then with forums like this, when you do experience rejection and you realize it has nothing to do with you, it may have something to do with your complexion or your gender. And other people are benefiting from a level of privilege, and you learn that other people are suffering in the same ways you are, and it's not because you didn't belong, it's not because you're an imposter, but because the playing field isn't right. And so what that does for me, is it actually energizes me. Like you are not going to deny me. You are
Mm.
not, because I know I'm deserving. I know I'm enough, and I know I'm better than some of you mediocre people who are telling me no.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love what I love the power in all of you, right? It's like, no, I know I'm supposed to be here. They may not belong here, but I know I'm qualified. So that is beautiful. And to your point, Latoya, there is this gap between the support we get, the funding we get, and all the things we get versus what other entrepreneurs get. So we are having to fill that gap for ourselves, right? And that
For
takes a lot
sure.
more. So for when you see us being successful versus them being successful, you better believe we did a lot more personally for that success than they ever had to, right? So good, very good point. Very good point. So when we talk about emotional resilience, as an entrepreneur, I feel like entrepreneurship is really a very spiritual journey, right?
Mm.
I think when we step into it, at least for me, I think we're not aware of it. When we first step into it, we think it's just all about business. We're going to get this product out. We're going to do this service. We're going to create this thing that's just in us that has to come out. But we don't think that we're going to have all the emotional and all the spiritual experiences that come with it. And I love to say that if you have any type of trauma that you haven't dealt with in life as an entrepreneur, it's going to come up in the process. So when you find yourself feeling stuck and you're trying to figure out why can't I just get past this particular level, it's and you're thinking, I need this business workshop over here, or I need this marketing workshop over here. What it really is, and you need to deal with you, right? And no one tells us that about the entrepreneurship process. I went to all the free workshops at SCORE and SBA and all the things that were out there when I was stepped into this bold endeavor, and no one mentioned that at all. But that's a big part of being an entrepreneur. Um, so I feel like either we recognize that soon enough or we recognize it too late, right? Either we recognize, okay, this is not about the process and procedures, this is about me. So have you guys ever experienced, upon something in your entrepreneur journey that made you stop and realize, oh, this is about me. This is something about me that I need to deal with. Because that greatness that you're trying to put out in the world started bumping up against that trauma you had inside, and you had to be like, okay, I need to deal with that to go further in my business.
Yes. That would be a short word. When I decided to branch off from my own company and really do more, I guess, activist type of work and social media and things like that, um, I realized I didn't take myself seriously.
Hmm.
And I was in my own way because I did this at 50. So I know the corporate world. I could manage that and I feel very confident in that world. But when I decided to take this fork in the road, while still having my company, but I was going to go this other way. I I felt silly, to be honest with you. Like, who
Hmm.
am I to think that, So I don't know if I don't know. I didn't feel like an imposter, but I definitely did not take myself seriously.
Gotcha.
And I still suffer from that.
Hmm.
And people will have, because I took it on as more of a hobby, this side thing I've been doing.
Hmm.
And people would say, but you're reaching, you're reaching 1.8 million people a week. Like, are
Right.
you, you got to, this is for real.
Right.
And I was in my own way because I didn't respect that part of myself. I
Got
respect
it.
the my intelligence, the education I had, and I could do the corporate world, but I guess more the creative side.
Hmm.
I did not respect myself. And I
Hmm.
still struggle with that sometimes. And so having to, and that comes from, this, I wouldn't call it trauma, but coming from, black, parents and, what a real job was and
Yeah.
all of that in my mind when I'm starting to try to do something that my, they would have been like, this is ridiculous. So Get this straight.
Right.
You're creating a game, like, that is just nothing about the way I was raised.
Yes.
So I have to fight those voices in my head,
Mm.
apply my business skills to something that still seems somewhat silly to me.
Mm.
Issa Rae talked about when she was doing her skits and she was posting on YouTube, and she said her friends would be like, "Oh, I made partner at the law firm," and then another friend, would save a kid's life, because they were doctors and big things, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I got 32 likes on my post," and you just feel somewhat ridiculous, right? In that. So I very much related to that. So
Mm.
that does come from the trauma of being, in a strict Black traditional household. I definitely have to, battle with that sometimes still.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else?
Yeah, no, the intersection of spirituality, spiritual growth, emotional growth, and entrepreneurship is like my jam. Because
Yeah.
to your point, it's just something that you did not know. And
Yes.
in corporate, you go through things, but it doesn't push you and like
Mm.
force you to confront yourself as much as entrepreneurship or parenthood. I feel like they're both very similar. They will
Yes.
both make you like reckon with everything about yourself.
Yes.
Like show up. It like forces you to like peel back all the things you thought you were. And it just is like you're this whole new person. And you just realize that you have so many new gifts and strengths. And it requires you to tap into like otherworldliness, right? Your
Thank you.
becomes something that because you're literally like pulling things out of nothing to
Yes.
make things happen. And it requires you to like think and move completely differently. And you have no idea because you don't know it going in. You have no idea. Just like parenthood, you don't know what birth is gonna look like. You don't know the pains. You don't have any of that. And someone could tell it to you. Like, so, oh, it's gonna hurt. But you have no idea until you're like pushing and
Yes.
you're in the middle of it. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things about entrepreneurship is that if you stay in it and you go through the journey, it not only transforms you and those around you, but you're creating and birthing something very new into the world. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Like you have no clue. Just be ready for it. Be ready for
Yes.
it and ride it out, which again just goes back to making sure that you have your like squad around you, whatever that looks like, because
Mm.
you're going to need it. You'll
Yes.
Yeah, I love that, be having a squad. Like I said, the coach to make sure that the things that you do each day are getting you closer to the goals that you're trying to achieve. For me in business, I've come to learn, been listening to a lot of audiobooks regarding, around money. And it comes down to mindset and what has been modeled for us, for females of all races, growing up, is that if you think about movies that you like, anytime a woman was in power or had money, she was considered the B word, right?
Mm.
Or she had to be tough and rigid and all, just unlikable. And
Yeah.
the most likable characters on the screen were people who, once they lost their money and became humble, and now, that broke girl was so cool and sweet until she had to make these diva moves to become powerful, and now it's frowned upon. So what I realized in my journey is I was blocking my growth blessings because I had these boundaries or walls up and ideas about money that I didn't even know, but they were ingrained in me as a child from the scriptures that my mom and grandmother spoke about in the Bible, all the way up to, like I said, the books you read and the movies that you saw. Money was always correlated with something bad.
Yes.
And you're going through you're getting your degrees, you're growing a business, and you're moving up, and you don't understand why the growth is not there. It's a block.
Mm.
It is a block because you see that I'm my own worst enemy. I have a money block against, like, well, so that may be an imposter syndrome when it comes to the finance, the
Mm.
abundance, that I don't have to work so hard. you know, I just need to be in a position to receive. what's
Mm.
coming to me if because I'm giving something of value. So for me, that's the part of entrepreneurship, business ownership, where I and probably other people struggle. Like somebody come in and do an assessment of their business. It's just like one little thing they needed to tweak, and boom, they're off to the races.
Yes.
And how do you tweak your mind around abundance and not then seeing money and growth as you're going to be outcast or seen as an evil or bad person? It takes some work, but I think that could be a block for other people as well. Maybe not, but definitely for me.
Yes, yes, I love that. And to your point, that is so true. Money mindset. When you talk about the concept of that, we hear a lot, filthy rich, right? I'm tying filthy with richness, right? It's like,
Yeah.
so who wants to be rich if you have that tied? And a lot of times we have this money mindset, we have money trauma, we have limiting beliefs that are not obvious to us. So we're trying to figure out why is this not working? And I love what you shared, Randy, about having to be able to reframe those messages from those voices in your head that are telling you, this is silly, or is this really, can you call this really work? But I love that you have the example of Issa Rae to help you see that, okay, well, at some point, what she was doing sounded silly to her, but look at her now, right? So, okay, being silly is great. Right? If that's where silly takes you, then being silly is great. So those are the ways we learn to reframe these thoughts in our head when we know, okay, this is just holding me back. It's not true. It's what other people felt around me. It's the messages I receive, but it's not true. Same thing about the media. When the media talks about money or portrays money and in a negative light, or if the only way that we see richness in the media is it's a crook, it's a criminal, right? The criminal is the one with the power and all the money. We don't see ourselves portrayed as Black women entrepreneurs being wealthy in the media. So we're like creating an anomaly within our own life. And there's a lot of mentalness that we have to deal with to grow through that process and just burst into our greatness. So very great things that all of you shared. And I hope the audience is taking notes, because these are things you experience in your entrepreneur journey, right? This is the realness of it. It's not the highlight reels you see on social media. This is the backroom stuff that you really go through that nobody's telling you about, right? So great information. As we wrap up, I have just a couple of more questions for you, ladies. One is, how do you know when to rest versus push yourself? Because there's always something that needs to be done, right? You don't wake up a day where you say, "Oh, everything's done today. I can just, go off and play." You have to be intentional about taking time off. So how do you know within a day when it's okay, now it's a good time for me to just push through and get this done, or I need to rest. I feel exhausted. I need to stop and rest. Because a lot of us can experience guilt around resting, right? Like there's so much to be done. I don't have time to take a nap. First is my body is telling me it's tired. I would be refreshed when I come back from taking that nap. So how do you ladies deal with that constant challenge of rest and pushing yourself forward?
I'm at the age that my body just stops. I mean, it's not going to do. My brain does not function at
Got
all.
it. It
So it's
makes you honor it.
yeah, I don't have a conscious choice. There's, when numbers start, blending together and things like that, I just have to call it.
Got it.
It'll be okay. That's what I always tell myself. It'll be okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to agree. At some point, you know when you're stuck and
Mm,
you need to get up and walk away. So it's
mm,
just being in tune with yourself, with how you work. Like,
got
yeah,
it.
if I can sit here 4 more hours and nothing's going to get done, let me go.
Right. That part right there.
Yeah, yes.
Absolutely agree. I think that just again, entrepreneurship will force you to do things that you just start to know and you regulate yourself, right? when you had a job, you kind of felt forced to sit there.
Yes.
Thing that like, going back to why a lot of us started these businesses in the first place was so we can control our time.
Mhm.
So if I'm controlling my time and
Yes.
I'm feeling like I need a nap as the controller of my time, I give myself the space to take that nap. So
Mm.
you have to like let go of this like corporate mentality because we're not working in corporate settings, a lot of us as entrepreneurships. So as entrepreneurs, so like embrace that and let go of the need and the idea that you have to sit in front of your computer from 9 to 5. Like
Yes.
you can shift your schedule now to be maybe like you start at 10, you go to 2, you take a
Come
break, and then
on.
you pick it back up
Come
at
on.
9 to 9, right? So
Yes.
you can do that. You can shift your schedule because now you're not clocking in to a boss. You are the boss.
Yes.
So sit in that and honor that and allow that to happen. And I remember like years ago, I stumbled upon like a quote or something, and it was saying how someone saw Picasso like resting. And then the next day they saw him working and they were like, oh, you were asleep yesterday. He was like, no, I was working. Right. So if you think about an artist, the moment of
Ah,
rest is also a brainstorming moment.
yes.
Realize that rest has as much value as working does. They
Part of the
both
work.
are
Rest is part of the
required.
work. Yep.
Exactly. They're both required to show up and perform.
I love that. Rest has as much value as working does. I know when I first just stepped into this entrepreneur journey, that was a struggle for me. I felt like my schedule had to be the same, right? I realized that I was trying to stick to the same schedule. And I was like, why are you sitting here at this time of day and you didn't even take a lunch break, right? Why are you sitting here working 8 hours, 9 hours straight? And there's nobody here making you do that. So I had to intentionally talk myself out of that because I was doing it without even recognizing it, right? So trained from
And to
corporate.
Latoya's point, yeah, you're trained. We're
Yeah,
taught that 40-hour work week that you have to. And it's like, and when you're doing it, you hate it. So why would you go out on your own? You could.
that part. That part. And that's exactly what I said to myself. Now, you left that job because you hated having to sit there through these hours. So why are you doing it to yourself, right? That
Exactly.
doesn't make sense, dear. So I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with myself about that and make some necessary changes. And now I determine what time my day starts, right? It doesn't start at 8 a.m. in the morning. It starts when I get ready for it to start. I determine when it ends. I've learned what time of day I do my best work and what time of day I don't. So it's not early in the morning, it's later in the day. So I give myself the freedom to use the flexibility I have created, as opposed to thinking I need to stick to this schedule or even just being unaware because it wasn't an intentional sticking to the schedule. It was just habit, right? It's just such a habit. Okay. Work means working 8 hours a day straight or 9 hours a day straight. No, it doesn't. I read this book a couple of years ago called The 4 Hour Work Week.
Hmm.
I think the author was Tom Ferriss,
Yeah, I
but
read that. Yeah.
he talked about how you can get things done in less time, right? You can be more efficient, get things done in less time, delegate things, right? Have other people to do things for you and enjoy your lifetime versus feeling guilty about being free. I think part of the corporate support of the corporate structure is brainwashing us to think that if we have free time, we're lazy. If we're not working at least 8 or 9 hours straight a day, then we're lazy because that benefit their structure. So we have to realize that as entrepreneurs and kind of break out of that, which is why we want to step away from that. As we
Yeah.
close out, go ahead. As we close out, I want to ask you, ladies, do you have a mantra or a something that you say to yourself when you are facing a rough day? As I know we all have those tough days. Um, I know one thing we do is we go back to why we're doing this, but what is kind of the message you say to yourself when you're in the midst of those days? Because I think when I think about Black women entrepreneurs, I remember the first moment that I realized, or through research, I learned that we're the fastest growing sector of new small businesses in America, but our success rate of staying in business for 5 years and beyond is 3%. So that means 97% of our new businesses are not making it, right? So 97%, so that said to me, we're the fastest growing. So we all want financial freedom. We want to build something from our talent and our skills. We want to leave legacy. We want to leave the job. We want that flexibility to own our own schedule. But when we step into this space of entrepreneurship, we're not finding the success that we need. We know we're the least supported, the least funded, but even beside all that, 97 of every 100 businesses that we start are failing. And I think a big part of that, among other things, is that we think that when things don't go right, that means we need to quit, versus that's just part of the journey. So when you hit that moment in your journey, and it's not just one moment, right? When you hit that moment over and over again on those tough days, what do you say to yourself, or how do you silence those voices in your head to keep you going so that you get on the other side of that?
Well, I say this to myself and I say it to my authors on my website everywhere. When going through hell, keep going, keep walking. For you may be experienced, but you will not be consumed.
Mm,
So it's part of the journey. Just keep walking.
I like that. That brings up a very clear visual, Faye.
I think so many people that are in the middle of the fire. It's like, okay, so you're gonna stay in there, be consumed, and you're gonna get on the other side. Let's go.
Right.
For me, I don't necessarily have like a one consistent saying that I say to myself, but what I will do is reflect on my past, right? So knowing that I've been brought through things before, this may look similar, may not, but either way, I know that I can get to the other side, right? So the idea is to realize that it's temporary. You may have to pivot, shift, or do something else to get out of it, but know that you will get to the other side. And I feel like that's a huge part of why honoring our past and not reliving it, but understanding why we went through some of the things that we did is so that we can apply those learnings to today. You don't want to throw it away. You don't want to completely divorce yourself from it. Leverage it as your tool set for what you're going through now.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And you're going to have miserable days and tough days. And I always tell myself, would I rather be miserable here with and doing what I'm doing now, or miserable at somebody else's company? Because you're going to have bad days regardless of where.
Either place, yes.
And so I apply that to anything, so I just go. And I quit me, break up with me all the time.
You do that too, Randy?
Oh my God.
I thought it was just me.
Oh my God. I quit listen, I turned in the actual letters of resignation to me. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm so sick of me, once a week, I'm done. I'm done. I am done.
Once a week. That is
Yeah.
so funny.
At least I would say once a week, there's something, and you're just like, I'm done with this. And then
Right.
it's a new day. It's a new day.
Beautiful. Yeah, we can get on our own last nerves, right? Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, ladies, well, thank you so much for everything you shared with us. If you have anything in your mind or in your heart that maybe a question I didn't ask that you want to share with the audience at this time, the floor is open.
I would say if you are thinking about getting into entrepreneurship, definitely don't sit on your ideas we talked about and just keep baking it. Get out there and try it. But again, going back to what we've talked about a lot too, is like anchor into a strong why. Your why can't just be money, because money is
that part.
Like,
yes,
it'll take a long time to get there. And I feel like, especially for those who are in products, right, and who like to watch like Shark Tank, and there's this concept of like sacrificing all to like move your idea forward. That is a very dangerous game. And it also, a lot of us, and I'm saying us, Black women, Black people, we don't necessarily have the financial safety nets to go all in. right? Be okay with transitioning into the space, right? I'm a plunger, but it's not the safest thing to do. And I just want to caution on that, because I think that goes back to the stat that you gave before, is that Black women, we're starting businesses and then we're getting in it and it's not doing what it needs to do. So we have to leave and go back to what we were doing before. And I think that having that understanding that it doesn't happen overnight. A lot of brands that you see that are huge brands today, it took them 10 plus years to get there.
Yeah.
So you have to be in it for the long haul. It's not an overnight success. It's not instant ramen. That's not what this is. This is a journey.
Yeah.
And you have to be ready for the journey. You have to pack for the journey.
Yeah.
So just be ready for that.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
I'll say the only thing that separates us right now that are here and all of you who are thinking about being entrepreneurs is that we just did it, right? It's not even, there's nothing special. Like, I mean, it's just, we just did it. So I'm just like, hate to, borrow Nikes, but really just do it and know you're going to fail and fall. And then you just get back up and you do it. You dust yourself off and you do it again. So that is it. Just be willing to try. If that's what your heart desires and you have a purpose that is bigger than money, because that definitely is not the way to go.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a feel. Yeah, I didn't get that. So yeah,
I love it. My advice, or the last thing I would close on, is that you should know yourself. You should do some soul searching. A lot of times, even though we're having this amazing conversation, we're all in business for ourselves. You have to run your own race, and entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Sometimes you got to know your strong suits. If you can't follow directions in your corporate job, it's going to be hard for you to give direction in your own business without creating some toxic workplace, environment, because you got to be a great follower to be a great leader. And so just go do some self-assessments before jumping all in and go at it with a coach. A lot of people, those 97% of businesses that fail, is probably because we feel unsupported and we do go at it alone. And sometimes we're just doing the wrong things. And with an outside opinion or assessment, if we just do a slight shift, we can actually attain the success that we want to and sustain it. So get in community, like Latoya said. And like Randy said, just do it. But before you do it, get yourself in check. Make sure you are a person who can follow directions in order to be a great person that can delegate to others. Okay, so best of luck to all of you and welcome to the races.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. Again, thank you, ladies, so much for being a part of the Women of Color in Business Roundtable today. I appreciate everything you shared for our audience. I know they got some great gems, and you will help to raise that success rate of Black women-owned businesses. So thank you for that. I appreciate everything you all do for our community and for your customers. And again, I want to wish you all, as always, the very best of joy, health, and wealth.
I get you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today's podcast is being sponsored by Your 90-Day Success Journal for Black Women Entrepreneurs by Lynette Cottrell. The journal is available on Amazon. It's inclusive of monthly goals, weekly and daily goals, affirmations, self-care practices, and inspiring quotes from other Black women. Be sure to get your copy today. Your 90-Day Success Journal. You've been listening to the Empower Her Business podcast. Before you close the app, let's be clear. Struggling with your business doesn't mean you're not capable. It means you've been doing too much alone. If this hit home, share it with another Black woman founder. Subscribe and visit our website for tools to support your success today. Let's stop hiding from our journey. It's time to lead boldly. We're in this together, sis. See you next time. As always, I wish you the very best of joy, health, and wealth. Be well.